And the next story I've got here is also a controversial topic, I would say. It's another more conspiratorial topic, which is fine. You know, this episode can be a little bit on the conspiracy side. We can stick with that. I believe in conspiracies, obviously. I'm writing about these things. But this one is interesting, and I may have talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but I'll give it another go here. Scientists say that airplane contrails may be accidentally geoengineering the climate. Now, as far as if you've listened to my work before and you hear me talk about geoengineering, I think is a topic that you should be concerned with whether or not you believe in or support the quote-unquote chemtrails theories, okay? So let me make that clear to you, because what we do know is that weather modification programs are real, that geoengineering, the science of altering large-scale, deliberately modifying the Earth's weather and climate, that is real. And the only sort of gap or question here is whether or not those programs are active and are currently taking place right now. So, you know, we have seen geoengineering conferences. There are geoengineering scientists out there promoting it. There's articles and studies talking about the dangers of geoengineering. There's congressional reports on it. There are world treaties on environmental modification, and on there's military papers about using the weather as a weapon. I mean, so let's get that out of the way. There's clear evidence that weather modification exists. So the question is, these researchers who say that we may need to geoengineer or modify the climate to save, you know, the planet, to save humanity, discuss this in this theoretical research type phase. They say that, you know, this is just theory. We're just writing about it. We're studying climate models on computers. And then you have the conspiracy theorists, the researchers who say, like, look, we're seeing what they're proposing. One type of geoengineering is called solar radiation management, and they talk about spraying aerosols from planes. And that's what a lot of people believe that they're seeing and report. Seeing, hey, look, this is them spraying from planes. They started to call it chemtrails, right? Well, now that we have the science of it, people have sort of put this together, and they're like, wait, this isn't chemtrails. The name is geoengineering. So you have one side that says geoengineering is happening. It's happening covertly because people won't admit that it's taking place. So you have either some rogue government or rogue corporation that is testing out geoengineering programs. That's what some people believe. And there are those among that crowd who believe that this is some kind of nefarious, you know, that it's done to poison people. And, you know, it's interesting to see all the different angles of this, because like I said, I try to take a balanced approach to these matters. I definitely believe that there's something to this science. I think that it's possible, and has happened in the past with other issues and with other technologies, that the U.S. government or any other government could, you know, haphazardly rush into, let's even say they think they're doing something good and they want to help the planet. So they start geoengineering. Well, the studies and the research that has come out is showing that once you start geoengineering, you can't stop because you risk heating up the planet too fast. There's also the way that the weather, it affects, like, you know, maybe you're trying to geoengineer in Houston and then all of a sudden you end up creating a drought in Africa. I mean, it's just, we don't really know exactly how it's going to happen. There's also some studies that say that we risk the loss of blue skies due to geoengineering. And solar radiation management, spraying from planes, is only one type, but this is definitely, you know, one of the popular ones that they discuss and that people think is actually happening. So now that I got you filled in on that background, what I'm saying is that this new report, these researchers now with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, are suggesting that contrails, which is the name for the quote-unquote normal spraying out of the back of exhaust, airplane exhaust, may be accidentally geoengineering. So on one hand, the geoengineers talk about deliberately spraying aerosols off planes to create sort of a haze that will reflect sunlight and create cooler temperatures, right? Well, then now they're saying, oh, well, the contrails, which are supposed to be normal, and this is again where the debate is between the conspiracy theorists and between those who just think that they're contrails. Some people say, no, those aren't contrails, those are chemtrails. Others say, yes, there are some contrails, but they disappear very quickly. The chemtrails will last for a long time. So again, it's kind of a complex thing here. There's a lot of angles here. So Chuck Long, a researcher with the Cooperative Institute for Research in Environmental Sciences at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Earth System Research Lab at the University of Colorado, Boulder, He recently spoke at the American Geophysical Union fall meeting and released a paper called Evidence of Clear Sky Daylight Whitening. Are we already conducting geoengineering? The analysis found that vapor from airplanes may be altering the climate through accidental geoengineering. Long and his team were investigating the changing amounts of sunlight that reach our planet, processes known as brightening and dimming. According to his lab, brightening and dimming are overly simplified words that signify increases and decreases in how much light from the sun reaches the planet's surface. In this new study, Long suggests that high-altitude ice haze may be responsible for a whitish tint to the blue sky. He says, I'm talking about a subvisual contrail-generated haze of ice, which we do not classify as a cloud, but gives blue sky more of a whitish tint. And as I said, contrail is the name for the thin line-shaped clouds sometimes produced by aircraft flying at altitude several miles above the Earth. Long's research, though, may prove that geoengineering is taking place accidentally already. So this is at least what some people this is what they're saying. Now, of course, the more conspiratorial side of myself, and I'm sure the other researchers are saying, oh yeah, right. This is, they, instead of ever admitting that they're doing it, it's just going to be a gradual change of, oh no, there's no contrails, or there's only contrails. Then eventually people start seeing these chemtrails, and they're like, no, there's no chemtrails. What are you talking about? That's normal. Those are contrails. And then now after a while, they're like, yeah, those are contrails, but they're doing what you thought the chemtrails were doing. Those are actually, now they're geoengineering program. And then they're eventually going to say, okay, well, since we accidentally started geoengineering, now we got to start it because we can't stop it. So I guess it's time to do it. And then all the people who've been talking about this the whole time, who've been talking about Operation Popeye, who've been talking about the 1996 document, Weather is a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather by 2025, all the people who've talked about, U.S. government, U.S. Army spraying chemicals over populations like they did in St. Louis. I mean, all the people who pointed this out will now be, they'll still be crazy and they'll be laughed at. But it'll be like everything you said was happening is taking place, yet the words have changed, the vocabulary has changed. It's like 1984, right? We were always at war with East Asia. I'm not sure if I'm making sense here, guys. I'm kind of rambling here, but it just really frustrates me because, for instance, with things like fluoride or just anything any type of harmful, dangerous, stupid thing the government does, they're never going to admit that they did that. They're just going to allow it to slowly, the history, they'll wait 100 years or 50 years and they'll declassify it and like, oops, it's too late. Or they're never going to come out and say, oh yeah, we were spraying in the sky and it may have been harming you, or that, oh, we were doing this and it was poisoning you. We put this poison in the water. They're just slowly going to change the processes until it becomes accepted. They're never going to admit fault. So if fluoride's bad for you, if chemicals are bad for you, they're not going to tell you, whoops, we were poisoning you. They're just going to slowly remove it over time until that becomes the new normal and nobody challenges it. So, I mean, it's crazy, but that's the world we're living in.